like, maybe I need to rethink how positive I am about this. Is this worse than I think it is? So that was the real rock bottom. So it's funny how you might write something at the time, and it's how you feel right now, but life changes for positive, for negative, all the time.
Darren,
Yeah,
great to see you, mate. We've known each other a few years really now, haven't we? But we're coming together to have a little chat about wellbeing festival in particular, but wellbeing as a word, as an ideal, as what it means to you, but also perhaps just to kind of share your journey, your story. Strength through adversity is your Instagram and your handle and your kind of sort of ethos, really, isn't it? It's something which you've created. And just, I know a lot about your story. I think it's amazing. It's kind of how we got to know each other a bit more just by me learning about that, as well as mutual friends. But tell me a little bit about where it came from exactly. What's your sort of take on what it means?
Yeah, for me, it came about 3.5 years ago. I was out climbing, and I was involved in a sort of serious climbing accident, and very nearly passed away. Lucky enough not to have, but as a result, broke my back. Paralysed instantly from the chest down. So life kind of took a very sudden and unplanned change of route, change of course. So it was kind of at that time where, even in the very early stages of getting over that and recovering from it in hospital, it was kind of like, well, what do we make of this? So it was kind of how do you overcome the adversity? So I saw it as a challenge, like I'd done previous things in life, whenever something, but
that's an incredible way to approach it. I mean, I don't imagine that was instant, was it?
No. There was a certain amount of like dawning and kind of accepting what had happened and realising what had happened. To start with, it was all kind of dreamlike, and everything didn't quite feel like it was really happening. No. And then as things start to sink in a little bit, I kind of thought, well, you know what, I think in life I'd signed up to challenges, whether that was climbing a mountain or running or whatever it might be. And
climbing was your thing. That was something you were running, massively into. And
I was in the Army Reserve as well, so that was kind of like in addition to the day job.
Yeah.
But I'd always signed up for those things. At any point, you could kind of quit. Not that I did, but you could quit or you could bail out.
Okay.
Whereas this was kind of a challenge that life signed me up to.
Yeah.
And there was no get out clause. There was no withdrawing or no quitting. So
I mean, that's a great attitude to have to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you immediately hitting the positive aspect of, you know, there is no other option. This is me. You know, and this is what I'm going to be, and this is how I'm going to move forward. That's something that's really interesting. It's an inspirational story in terms of the physical and mental battles, let's say, and the the adversity which you've come from and you've come through. But I guess you still deal with. It's not something that goes away, is it?
No, definitely. I think there's two parts. There's the physical recovery, which you can very much take control of quite early on. You start learning how to move forward and to improve your balance and to improve your strength. So day-to-day life is easier, but also that allows you to go kayaking, go rowing, do all the things that you might want to do in life.
Because we'll come on to that. That's something that you've got going on at the moment, isn't it? Which is quite exciting. Which is, again, you applying that sporting and that drive that you had to go and do something. You applied it immediately to something, didn't you? So you're talking about the physical challenges that changed and that you were able to kind of apply your mental state towards. But what about your mental state in terms of immediately through to where you are now? How does that something that you deal with or dealt with?
Yeah, well, I think people often say that it's 90% mental, 10% physical.
Okay.
And I think it's definitely the case, because if you didn't have your mental resilience squared away, you weren't going to take up the physical challenges or overcome the physical barriers, because you would be stopping yourself from even attempting or achieving the thing. So for me, strength through adversity and writing the blog, which is where
it's where it started, isn't it?
It's where strength through adversity came from. So I was advised in hospital that the best way to process emotional pain or to process what had happened was to talk about it, write about it, or do any of the combination. Keep it to yourself, publish it, share it with people. So I kind of had all this...
But actually expressing it in some way. Okay.
So I had all this time on my hands because I was in hospital. Strength through adversity came about as kind of like a nice tagline for a blog, and the website was free, so I kind of thought, you know what, we'll go for it.
Yeah.
And then I started writing about what had happened, the day of the accident. That one took me probably 2 months to write.
Okay.
Because I would write a certain amount, have to stop, and kind of when I was ready, I'd revisit it
because of the emotional attachment to it.
Because I was writing about a moment that completely changed my life.
This is quite an extreme case, isn't it? You know, in terms of how that was a sudden life change and impact. You know, we're talking immediately now as we're facing very uncertain times, aren't we? You know, it's the kind of irony of this conversation is that it immediately relates to a lot of people's lives, with business, with families, with schools, with the uncertainty of income and the uncertainty of how we move through this now. Neither of us are going to now talk about that and be experts to advise people what to do with that, but there's certainly things that you can relate to what you've just said there about expressing and talking and opening up and understanding at the moment, but also perhaps with you know, mental health issues. It's very prevalent at the moment in the media, but also in public domain. It's great that there's so many people showing that is an okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have those sort of moments. Because I imagine for you talking about this now, you do this a lot, presumably, because it's you know, it's your story. I'd call it a story. I don't know if that's the right thing.
It's like a chapter of a book. The previous chapters are about the person that was formed.
Okay.
And then those previous chapters meant that when this chapter happened, I could deal with it. So every mountain I climbed, all the sort of selection process I'd gone through with, before my accident, I went through the selection process for UK Special Forces Reserves, which is obviously probably one of the hardest reserve selection things that you can go through.
Okay.
But that happened kind of just before my accident. So I was already in a mental and physical state that I could overcome something that was hard and push myself.
Okay.
So that kind of was a very nice, timely thing for when it happened. I had like this kind of resource bank I could draw upon of experiences that I knew that when things were tough, or when I was tired, or when I kind of thought I was going to break, that I didn't.
So you've got something that you're relating it to. You've got a benchmark. I guess that's hard for people if they are dealing with mental health issues which they're not used to, or not used to talking about, or used to opening up about. But certainly, I think, you know, from how I talk to you, I immediately relate to, you know, my own kind of sporting, sort of previous sporting achievements, but also how that forms my attitude towards approaching work and my family life, and the encouragement of others, which I do for a day-to-day basis. But that's not everyone, is it? You know, other people are going to be motivated by different things, but certainly can draw on on some of those things that you say, where it's like, you know, this is about dealing with the situation that you're in and understanding that there are ways forward, there are things that you can do. But no, it's interesting, the parallels with people's lives that might not be as let's call it as an extreme case as to what you're dealing with, but it could be to do with their you know, day-to-day living and family life. And Wellbeing Festival is what we're kind of bringing this all together. This conversation is about, as much as it's you and me, it's about this, the community. It's about bringing people opportunities. One, to listen, to learn about you, and you're going to be talking on stage with the guys and the girls from Battleback.
Which would
be good, won't it? I've not met all the people that's going to be on this panel yet, but we're going to be doing some conversations with them, which would be cool. You know, some of them injured servicemen and women, some are civilians, and it's about the mental and physical rehabilitation, which again is going to have, for you, I presume, is quite an interesting thing to share different stories.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the moment as well, with everything going on in the news, you know, it's been a tough year so far, I think, as a society. So to have something to look forward to at a local level, I think is fantastic. And whatever is happening in the news or in the world at the moment, you can't let that derail what you're looking forward to and the things that, you know, are positive. So let's not forget the positives that are coming up just around the corner.
That's cool.
Because we will get through what we're going through. We will get through it. And fortunately, we have something like the Wellness Festival to look forward to, and I think it'll be a complete flip on the head of what's all the negativity we've had.
I mean, a free to attend event is the essence, is going to bring people out when we're allowed out, and when it's something that is, you know, when it's something that is acceptable, mass gatherings, you know. We've got contingencies in place for it as organisers, but in terms of what you're saying, let's build some positivity around it. You're attending as one of our speakers and one of our exhibitors with the guys there. You've seen the website, you've seen some of the promo stuff. Is there other things on there that are kind of inspiring for you, or that you kind of like to look at? What is there else on there?
I can't wait to meet the Battleback guys.
Okay.
Because I think to hear their stories, you know, I think since my accident I've met a lot of ex-servicemen that have gone through various trauma, and how they've dealt with it has been incredible. Nell McAndrew, who is sort of, you know, I think she's a really positive role model for a lot of people. I think it'd be fun to watch some of the stuff that maybe, you know, the 80s workout. Yeah. Might not be doing it, but I'll be watching it and having a laugh.
You can have a go.
I'll probably have a go.
There's no reason why we can't do a bit.
Yeah, and I think it'll just be good just to have all those people there for something really positive. You know, everybody's there for the same reason. They want to be inspired. They want to sort of be surrounded by people that are like-minded. Yeah. So I think it's something that the town needs, especially at the moment.
Well, you know, absolutely. I think it's something we've got to look forward to and hopefully, like you said, spread the positivity about it. There's so much going on. People can find all about it on the website, so it's wellbeingfestival.co.uk. A little bit more about you. I'd like to tap into, you know, I'm looking at your T-shirt that's got British Canoeing on it. Yeah. This is something which, obviously, at the moment with the current climate, who knows what's going on, but you, again, have got to be focused on what your ultimate goal is, which, you know, tell me, you know, as if I didn't know. Tell me. That's cool.
So British Canoeing have been, I think one of the first things I did when I was in hospital was I bought a kayak. I was still in hospital, and I was had a day release on a Saturday, and I went with two of my best mates, and we went to the kayak store in Manchester. So we went on like a road trip to it. And the guy in the store was trying
So you've been thinking about what for a while, or is it just an impulse? It was like, let's go.
From almost the second week, I was kind of thinking of what
can I do
What
instead?
can I do?
Right.
And I kind of thought, you know what, kayaking, I don't need legs for kayaking. You kind of do, but it's all right, I get around it.
Yeah.
So we went to this store, and the poor guy that ran the store had no idea that I was still like a patient in hospital.
Okay.
And we saw these two matching kayaks. Me and my best mate bought these two matching kayaks, and that was me setting out my kind of like stall that when I got out, this would be something I do. So I was released on the 23rd of December. On the 24th of December, a friend of mine had booked the local swimming pool for an hour, and we got the kayaks into the pool for an hour. I could only last about 2 seconds.
I was going to say, I mean, that's just something completely new to you, being released from hospital.
So I had no balance.
You've been presumably laid down for a long time and doing physio and stuff in there.
6 weeks flat in bed to let the spine recover, then another 6 weeks of sitting in an electric wheelchair, no bending or no twisting.
Wow.
And then another 6 weeks of learning to overcome, so 3 months.
And then you thought you'd just jump straight in the kayak.
But
how was it?
Kept flipping in all the time. But it was an incredible experience because I kind of thought, no, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So British Canoeing ran like a talent ID day, so I went along to that and then went through their selection process and then made it onto their sort of development squad, and then it was
This is kind of where we reconnected, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I'd known of you and we'd sort of crossed paths a little bit, and then we met over at Nottingham, didn't we? And so I got chatting over
you were
there.
doing your thing.
Yeah, we had an event over there, and then it was like we just got chatting about. I was like, "Oh, hello, mate. You all right?" Yeah, and I was like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, on the lake." Oh, it was amazing. So and that's. But yeah, so where are you up to now? How far have we got?
Well, so they've been incredibly supportive. So it was kind of initially 2 days a week, then it went up to 3 days a week of driving across to Nottingham. So that was quite intense. And then obviously everybody is building up towards Tokyo. Who knows what's going to happen with that at the moment? And there's been some short-term impact in terms of like the selection races for the upcoming sort of squad announcements and stuff. But everybody is still working towards the goals if it's it's going to go ahead.
Well, hopefully by Wellbeing Festival, when we run it, or if it's moved to a different date, we'll know one way or another whether you're there or not, and whether you've reached that sort of goal. But either way, there's an interesting element to the story, isn't there, and to your kind of continued book, let's say. So it's going to be a long story, isn't it? It's ongoing.
Like, it doesn't come without adversity. So just because what happened, it doesn't mean that you don't face challenges in data. So injury.
Sure. I said that before to you about the mental, the mental health awareness thing that we're trying to advocate with Wellbeing Festival. You're talking to me about it quite candidly and quite openly, and it's fine. And I said you must do this because you do some talks and you do these things, and people can learn a bit more about you from your site, can't they? So we can chuck that on the link and everything later. Dealing with it day to day. Are there still times when you sort of have moments or feelings? I presume, because we all do. I think
everybody does. I think it's sometimes weird things that trigger it. So it might be driving in a car and someone runs past the car, and it kind of triggers that. I fancy going for a run right now. Or I think when I've been training and you're kind of building towards this goal of Tokyo, and that's been from a couple of years ago. And then in September last year I got injured, and I've been sort of battling a shoulder injury since.
Sure.
So that is quite frustrating, and at times can kind of it has an effect because what you're trying to work towards, someone's putting another barrier in your way. So I think I said to you before, I generally allow myself a sort of a bad 5 minutes and kind of let myself dwell on it for a little bit, but I don't let it torpedo the rest of my day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of...
It's my favourite quote.
Yeah, think about it. I had to get it in.
We talked about this the other day, and we you know, I used it on my Instagram feed, and I genuinely used my own advice only a couple of days ago when a lot of this was kicking off, and I'm thinking about, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with it with my family and everything? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to listen to myself because I'm listening to someone else who I'm inspired by, and I genuinely am. It's not, you know, and I look at myself and a question is that because you are confined to a wheelchair that I'm inspired by you because you're still there? So maybe it's not. Maybe it's because of your ability to draw on the similarities of that sporting background of that's where I draw my strength from and where I draw my direction and my attitude towards achieving things from. So I'm like, that's kind of what I feel is the connection and that. But you relate yourselves to other people's lives, and I think that's kind of what it's about. Is we need to communicate, we need to relate, we need to definitely not let things torpedo our day, because there's a lot more to the day than there is just that few moments of feeling a little bit low. But again, it's about the communication with somebody, with each other, with whatever medium. Like you say, you know, the written word that you did to begin with, that was very hard, but it helped, and that was your start of it, wasn't it? So, you know, there's Wellbeing Festival is hopefully going to be an opportunity for you to spread this kind of positivity and this story to people. Tell me where can you find out about you? What's the Strength Through Adversity?
Yeah, so www.strengththroughadversity.co.uk.
Yeah.
For the context that people might need, the first blog is called Hitting Rock Bottom.
Yeah.
And that's about the day of...
Yeah, this is what I read originally.
Changed.
A friend of mine pushed me that way and said, have you read? And I was like, wow, okay, you know.
And that's where everything started, kind of thing. And that's where all of this was born out of.
Because what is rock bottom to you is not necessarily what is rock bottom to somebody else. Yeah. It does, it puts life in perspective a little bit. I always use other people's examples.
Hitting rock bottom, I wrote at a time when what had happened was rock bottom.
Yeah.
But something that happened maybe 5 months later, so my partner, who I'd been with for a long time with, lived with, left me just before I left hospital.
Okay.
So what was rock bottom 4 months ago, and I thought life couldn't be any harder, to lose someone that meant a lot to you.
A serious emotional...
And it made you it made me think, I was kind of like, oh, like maybe I need to rethink how positive I am about this. Is this worse than I think it is? So that was the real rock bottom. So it's funny how you might write something at the time and it's how you feel right now, but life changes for positive, for negative, all the time. And it's not a continual graph of, and no one's life is going to be a continual flat line of happiness or
pretty boring,
sadness.
Really, if it was, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You're going to have your peaks and your
emotions,
troughs.
Don't we?
Exactly.
Peaks and troughs. And
but
a lot of people are going to feel they're in a trough at the moment with this.
Yeah, I know.
But you know,
control
like
what you can control. So me and you can't control the outbreak, but we can control our behaviour. That will make us feel better. Like, so if you're self-isolating, I was thinking this the other day. Someone told me I'm a vulnerable group.
Okay.
I don't feel it, but I was thinking, well, if I was at home, how would I stop myself from going mad and feeling anxious and feeling depressed? And I was kind of like, well, there's certain things that I can do around the home, whether that's on the rowing machine, on the floor stretching out, or just doing bits and bobs around the house that will keep me mentally and physically ticking over.
I think it's having a plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't, but that plan doesn't have to be strict. We can move around.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. We can chat for ages because we have done and we do, and it's cool and I enjoy it. This idea is to engage people, to excite them, to get them looking at what Wellbeing Festival is, about what you are and what you do, and hopefully following your journey now from onwards as you go through towards Tokyo, if it's on and if you're there.
And then
even if you're not, beyond that is what else there is.
Exactly.
Which is exciting. So we'll learn more about this at Wellbeing Festival, which will be great. And mate, listen, it's been great. We will shake hands and then we'll wash our hands. We'll elbow nudge and we'll crack on. All right.
Good.